Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to make a sketch after a portrait by Rembrandt. It's a late self-portrait, and I'm going to make quite a loose sketch. I'm not going to make a very tight sketch, just a little bit of scribbling. And first I'm going to work with shadows, just to have a certain definition of his face. Here we have the eye. Here comes the other eye somewhere. The shadow of the nose. And I like, to have a really kind of scratching way of drawing. I tend to avoid, actual correct lines. I like to have a sort of structure of scratchings all over the place. And I'm trying to watch for the tonal values. So here's, the nose. When a hatching becomes too regular, I tend to break it, as you can see. And I don't want to stay too long at the nose. Now I'm going to suggest the mouth. And I'm looking at the tonal values. The light comes from the left, from a high point. So this area is lightest. So everything else is actually slightly darker than this. So I have to reserve the white of the paper for this area. But I have to break the white of the paper, so to speak, in other areas. Otherwise, it's not as realistic as it could be. This is a late self-portrait by Rembrandt, which is in London. It's a really great painting. I've seen it a couple of times, most recently in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. He looks quite sympathetic in this painting. And I just go through other earlier scratchings, so it gets a layered feel to it. I'm not trying to make beautiful lines or scratchings. I rather try to, have a certain correctness in tonal values on the whole. I think this is better. Yeah, I'm still experimenting a little bit with the lighting, because this is one of the first drawings I make this way with the camera. But this looks better than how it started. Here he has those wrinkles below his eyes. I'm just suggesting with a few marks, a few accents, not too much. In case you are wondering, this is the portrait I'm working with. Now I have to fill in quite a lot of darkness. Rembrandt is the master of light and dark, of course. And I have to watch out not to make too regular hatchings. I want to keep that structure of, broken hatches, scratching hatchings. I don't know if that's an existing term, but in case it doesn't exist, it exists from now on. I tried to add scratchings which are not very dark, which are quite light, so you get a subtle extra layer, so to speak. Oops. I really like using this very cheap pencil, refillable pencil. And now I'm actually quite crudely going through all of this drawing to get the darkness right. Maybe I should zoom out a little so you can see a little more of the drawing itself. And I'm really looking at the tonal values now and the proportions of the different areas. You know, this shadow here and this shadow here. And it becomes one big, you know, chaotic scribble, you know, at first sight perhaps, but I really like the effect of, you know, a face emerging from it. To be honest, I think I put the nose a bit too low. So I'm just going to draw this a little bit higher. I don't care. We just do this. And we'll see what comes out of it. Makes it even more chaotic. I really like these pens, but in some ways they're quite inconvenient. But I'm too lazy to, you know, to get a pencil and to sharpen it constantly. I think you should, you know, just use what's most convenient to you. What gives you most fun to draw with and best results. Well, this area needs some working. All kinds of accents, you know, put the emphasis on certain things. It's in some phases of this drawing I can move very freely, and now I'm at a stage in which I want to get certain things correct and quite accurate in a way. So there's a structure of chaos, but it's not really a chaos because everything is, you know, under some control put on the paper. And now I have to determine, the other eye. And slowly, I'm not suggesting in any way that this is the way Rembrandt made drawings. One of the great draftsmen in the history of art, by the way. But I thought this was fun. It's a sort of tryout for this whole setup that I'm using, but yeah. If you see at the later stage in the drawing that, you know, an area is placed too low, too high, just draw over it, you know. And the echo, which is formed by the previous lines, something went wrong with my camera. What I said was, if you know, have drawn a detail too low, too high, and you want to correct it, just correct it, and you know, the previous lines can form a nice echo of the lines you are actually using in the end to define the face. Because as I draw along, you know, you make all kinds of corrections. And I try to put it accurately on the paper from the beginning, but sometimes you just have to correct something. I'd like his expression to be a little more sympathetic. I made these quite strong. Because Rembrandt is in this self-portrait quite relaxed, I think. As if he's 5 years too young in my drawing, so I'm going to draw a little more. This is really very typical of this portrait. What happens here with that cheek, you know, the shadows between, you know, this here. I think he's quite nicely emerging now from the chaos. And then you hit a point that you even have to watch out that it's not becoming too clear. You know, that you work so long on this that this becomes a different style compared to this. You know, that you are working too tight perhaps. You know, during the drawing process you can go from one extreme to the other. So I have to keep this quite chaotic hatching or scratching method in place. I see that my camera starts getting a certain face recognition. This is really fun. I think so. Maybe I'm interpreting my camera wrong, but I see a white square here. I think he has face recognition now. I'm not sure, but it's funny. If it is. Well, I'm just going to proceed now. I don't want to make this too long now because I think it's getting along nicely now. This area needs some extra work. And I think the nose can get some more definition. Oops. I think I'll leave it at that. Yeah.